Welcome to Brain Health Matters, a series of courses, programs, and shows just like this, all designed to help you become healthier so your brain can become happier and stronger. This week, we explore the healing power of our thoughts and learn simple ways to turn them around for a healthier mind, body, and spirit. You won't want to miss this beautiful conversation with Dr. Tanya English. Stay tuned.
Brain Health Matters is brought to you by The Musical Brain, Book 3 in the Healthy Brain series. Enjoy the fun and easy practices in this book to improve your memory, sharpen focus, and master your mind with the healing power of music. Available on Amazon everywhere.
Dr. Tanya English has been working for 30 years in the healing field, first as a massage therapist, then as a chiropractor and energy healer. Dr. English has been inspired by the idea that we have been born with power to heal, but people have not been shown how this works in real life. I've invited her here today to help us understand how to tap into our own inner knowing to heal ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, as I believe that true brain health can only be achieved when we are fully healed. Thank you for joining us, Tanya.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
This is great. And another musician on the show here. This is super for me.
People ask me all the time, what instrument do you play? And I say, this is the instrument I play. I'm a vocalist.
And you know what? We've talked about that several times on the show about how powerful our vocal cords are for healing, brain, mind, everything. And I promise everybody, we'll get to that in a moment. But I wanted to start, Tanya, by asking, what inspired you to combine energy healing with chiropractic?
Well, the chiropractic that I've been doing since I was in school for chiropractic back in 1993 and 94, in that era, was based on what's the actual root cause of what's happening. In chiropractic, they will say, subluxation is the cause. That means a partial dislocation, where the vertebrae, in particular in the spine, which is the casing for our central nervous system, our spinal cord, where that isn't moving correctly, so it's impinging on the nerves that come out of the spinal cord. It also happens in the cranium too, because these cranial bones actually move and breathe. And when they're not moving, then there's something going on. So my question was, well, what causes that? What I found is that it's how we feel that's creating our physiology. And nobody talks about that except for a few people. And one of them was Dr. M.T. Morter Jr., who developed the bioenergetic synchronization technique. We call it BEST for short, because that's a mouthful to say. But bioenergetic synchronization technique works on subconscious emotional memories that are overriding present time. So subconscious emotional memories, what is that?
Yeah, good question.
That's a pattern. Yeah, that's a pattern of physiology that your body memorizes when you're faced with a certain trigger. So for instance, if let me just say, if you're going to the grocery store, are you thinking about driving? Or are you thinking about what you're going to get at the store?
Well, you're thinking about what you're going to get at the store, right? Because we're on automatic when we're driving, usually.
Automatic means the subconscious is running it.
Right.
And your subconscious is running what your liver's doing right now, and what your pancreas is doing right now, and what your gut's doing, what your heart's doing. Those are all subconscious things. You don't have to tell your heart to beat. It's now a subconscious, autonomic control. And the autonomic nervous system, you can substitute automatic, is the part of your nervous system that's running your body. And the way that part of your system is influenced is through your emotions. Your emotions create your physiology. It's not the other way around. Although, if you have overgrowth of bacteria in the gut, it can definitely change your thinking.
Absolutely.
There is a gut-brain connection.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot in this podcast and in my work, because Well, it's a two-way street, right? We've got those little microbes running around in our gut telling us, telling our body, the DNA is
Yeah,
telling our body's DNA how to respond to things, and then it's
more microbes than cells in our body, more.
exactly much more DNA.
And I'll give you an example of something that happened to me. I was singing on stage and I turned around to my husband and I said, I don't know where I am right now. He's my bass player. And he said, well, just finish the song. And I said, no, no, I don't know how I got here. I had transient global amnesia, which is an amnesia where you lose an amount of time and you don't remember any of it. I had no memory of singing an entire set of music.
How does that happen?
I'll tell you, it's the gut brain connection. So we got outside and he said, and it was 2017, and he said, who's the president? I said, Barack Obama. He said, oh no, you're not going to like this. I said, what? He said, Trump's our president. I said, the TV guy? He said, what's our address? I told him our address. He said, we moved. I'm like, we moved? I didn't remember any of this. We got in the car. He knew how to tell if I had had a stroke, and there was no physical deficit whatsoever. So we went home and I went to my chiropractor, who's a wonderful guy. And I said, what happened? And he said, you have a candida overgrowth.
For heaven's sake.
If I had gone to the hospital, they would have put all kinds of stuff on my brain. They never would have checked my gut. And he immediately checked my gut and said, yeah, you have an overgrowth. Here, take some total probiotics. Yeah, okay, good. Done. That's it.
Wow. And think how many people, Tanya, go
And they
through
never,
stuff like
ever
that.
check their gut. Never. Because
Wow.
they don't know how it works, because they don't study anything but how the drug will influence this. And they're always going to the exact spot. And we know that if it's happening in the body, it's happening everywhere in the body. There's no divider between here and
Between the head and the heart. That's right.
we don't say when we're talking about ourselves, we don't point to ourselves here, do we? Say, I'm Tanya. We say, I'm Tanya. We point to our heart.
Correct. Correct.
So where's the disconnect? It all happened about 150, 75 years ago when old white men said, we only eat for pleasure. We don't eat for fuel for our physical self. The only reason why we eat is for pleasure. And that's why food is not interested in health, and health isn't interested in food. But we're bridging that.
It's amazing how many people really, even today, even in this time of viruses and attacks to the nervous system from glyphosate and all these things, so many people don't really connect how interconnected we are.
And that's part of my message, is that, you have the power to heal, but if nobody ever shows you how to use it or what to do and how simple it is, then you don't know. I want to show people this connection right now, this connection between your thoughts and your feelings and your body. You
Perfect.
willing to play along with me?
Of course, as long as as long as I can describe for the people who only have audio, if I can
Yep.
describe what's happening. Perfect.
They're going to get it. They're going to get it. They don't have to even see this. So everybody who's listening and watching, close your eyes and just imagine in front of you, there's a beautiful cutting board, a knife, and a lemon. And this lemon is the most beautiful lemon. It looks like a picture of a lemon. It's so perfect. And you hold the lemon with one hand. Now you can feel the oil from the lemon skin on your hands, and you can smell it. And you pick up the knife and you make a slice. Now you can feel that juice running out of the lemon, and it's over the knife, and now you really smell it. And now you take another slice of that lemon and you take that wedge you've just sliced, it's all juicy, and you put it in your mouth and bite down. Now, do you have more saliva in your mouth?
Absolutely.
Your body's getting ready for the lemon, and there's no lemon.
Right.
It's your thoughts that are creating the physiology, because your body remembers, oh, the pattern for thinking of lemons and lemons is I need to make saliva. And if we check the pH of your saliva, it would be more alkaline than when we started, because it's going to get ready for the acid of the lemon. So your saliva pH changed, you created more saliva just by thinking about a lemon. That's how quickly it happens. And that's when I'm talking about the subconscious emotional memory, because that's how quick you get hit by a red car on your bike when you're a kid. Every time you see a red car, trigger.
Oh boy, I can so get that. And you know what? That even happens as an adult because I was hit by a car. My dog and I were hit by a car. She ended up passing away because of that injury. And a blue car, a little blue, like a sedan type car, that will trigger that for me even now, 20 years later.
So you ready to do something about that? Let's do it right now.
Absolutely. Perfect
20 years
example.
ago, that's enough. Have you been punished enough about that?
I think I have.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. When you think of that, does it make you feel? What are some of the feelings that you have?
My heart races. My heart races and I feel guilty. I feel
Guilty.
very
Okay.
guilty. Yeah.
What else? Sad.
Sad, of
Right.
course. A little bit
Okay.
afraid. Afraid was kind of post the actual event because I didn't see it coming. But now every time I see those vehicles, I feel a little bit afraid.
Okay. So we're going to tap on this. We're going to do emotional freedom technique. And even if you're listening to this, just you can repeat to yourself what I'm saying or repeat it out loud. I'm going to have Kate repeat it out loud. And then I'm going to tell you where we're tapping. So we're going to start on the inside corner of your eyebrow with 2 fingers. Just tap right there and say, all of this guilt,
All of this guilt,
go to the side of the eye. All of this fear,
all of this fear,
under the eye. All of this sadness.
all of the sadness.
I should have known, under the nose. I should have known,
I should have known.
under the lips, on the chin. Why didn't I know,
Why didn't I know?
under the collarbone. I should have seen this coming, underneath right here. There's your collarbone underneath. Yeah.
I should have
I should
seen
have
this.
seen this coming, right under your collarbone.
I should have
I
seen
should
this
have seen
coming.
this coming. I should have known to get out of the way.
I should have known to get out of the way.
All my fault.
All my fault.
This never should have happened.
This never should have happened.
I'm so guilty.
I'm so guilty.
And go under your arm way up high. I'm so sad that this happened.
I'm so sad that this happened.
And I couldn't stop it.
And I couldn't stop it.
And I didn't know it was going to happen.
And I didn't know it was going to happen.
So I'm just going to keep feeling this for the next 20 years.
I'm tapping my head. So I'm just going to keep feeling
Top of
this
the head.
for the next 20 years.
Yeah, top of the head, you're tapping.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then back to the eyebrow. And I really want to let this go.
And I really want to let this go.
Side of the eye. But I'm going to acknowledge these feelings.
But I'm going to acknowledge these feelings.
Under the eye. I'm going to own these feelings.
I'm going to own these feelings.
Under the nose. I'm going to honor my feelings.
I'm going to honor my feelings.
Now take a deep breath. Think about the accident. Does it feel different now?
It feels a little more distant, not so visceral.
Exactly. Right. It's not, we're putting it back where it belongs. It's a memory. It's not happening right now.
Excellent. Oh boy, people, I know so many people who have traumatic events like that. This should be such a help to use this technique.
This is so simple. We're saying how you're feeling. We're owning, we're acknowledging, we're honoring those feelings, because here's the trick, okay? Those negative feelings are going to happen. You're a human being. You're going to have negative feelings. It's just the way the world is. It's the way you're made up. But to hold them right in front of you every single time is not fair, is it? It's not right. You shouldn't have to relive that moment over and over again. And the way that we're doing this tapping, we're tapping on acupuncture points. We're changing the energy in your body. Acupuncture is where these pathways of energy flow through the body. It's all scientific. It's only been going on for 5,000 years. So must work, right? And we're tapping on those and we're acknowledging our negative feelings, because it's okay to have negative feelings. You're not, like, I notice I'm not calling them bad feelings.
Right.
They're not bad. They're good.
Well, we
And
have to
that
have
comes,
feelings. We have to have them. Otherwise we're not humans.
right. If you're trained never to say how you feel, know how you feel, name how you feel, acknowledge how you feel, then what are you?
Yeah.
Are you less than human? Are you the full complement, the whole kaleidoscope of who you are? When I'm bringing people into energy work, I do what's called an intuitive energy scan. And I'm scanning their chakra system. That's those 7 major energy centers. I call it the energy skeleton. If we took everything away that we could touch and feel about you and your physical self, and we just left your energy sitting there, we'd see these 7 major centers. There's lots of little ones too, but the 7 major ones are your growth as a human being, not a human doing, a human being. And the lower 3 are very physical. When we get to the heart, it starts to shift from physical to spiritual. So the higher ones are more spiritual. And a lot of the work that we do with people in healing is those first 3.
Right.
So we want to make sure, yeah, that we are not holding, because we push our emotions. We don't want to feel it, we push it down. We don't want to feel it, we push it down. But let me say, I've always said this: if you don't deal with your feelings, they will deal with you.
You know, I 100% agree. I believe that my mom had cancer of the reproductive system 4 times. 4 times. And I believe that had a lot to do with her repressing her emotions, repressing so many things,
Second
resentment.
chakra.
Yeah, resentment, so many things. And she
What if her
just,
creativity was just totally stifled as she was growing up? I mean,
absolutely
that's
it
your
was.
creative space. Second chakra is where your womb is. I mean, you can't get more creative than that.
And that's, you know, she wanted children her whole life. That was her thing, but they also denied her an ability to have an education because she had to look after somebody else's children. So she had all of these repressed emotions and she ended up dying with dementia, but of cancer of the vagina. So imagine, I mean, there was that whole mess of repressed things. And that's one of the reasons I like to talk about this sort of thing here on Brain Health Matters, because ultimately that determines our whole being. It's not just the emotions, it's our whole being.
Yeah, when we're talking about the brain is a transmitter and receiver. Transmitter receiver, that's it. I mean, there's stuff moving around in there, right? There's neurons that are firing and there's pathways that are worn, and those worn pathways of, let's say, that accident with your dog, that pathway is so worn now, all you have to do is see a blue car. But I'm gonna challenge you a little bit to keep doing that tapping on that and bring up even more of the feelings that you have, and watch that thing, that incident fade away into the background, and until you can say, yeah, that happened, and you have no attachment to it.
That's interesting you challenged me about that because so many times I've never like I don't really deal with that too much. I deal with many other things with tapping. My lack of patience, sometimes I try to tap that away. You know, there are many other things I do, but I haven't dealt with that and I really appreciate it. And folks who are listening and watching, I'll bet you have something that you've been ignoring, putting away. And what is that doing to you physically and emotionally, mentally?
So let's see, if you tapped on that some more, how would your patience level change? Because here's the thing, when you have all of this stuff built up under the surface, one little straw, and like, damn it, what happened? Ugh, you get all upset and frustrated because there's so much that's undealt with. So my job as a healer, I'm not the healer for other people. I just am the healer GPS for others. So I tell them where to turn right, turn left, here, do this, just like I just did with you. But it's important for me to do this healing too, so that I can be a clear conduit for what's coming for you, what's coming up for you. What do you need to deal with? I mean, the fact that you immediately brought up that specific incident means it's ready. It's
Yeah.
ready to be cleared. She didn't pick anything else out of her life. It was the accident. And so that is a big tell when you come up with that thing right away. And the other thing I'll say about the brain is everybody thinks their mind is in here, and your mind isn't in there.
Isn't in your
Your
head.
mind is in your field of energy.
Right.
We have a field around us of energy. It's not that we're emanating energy. Obviously, we are doing that. But as our energy gets more and more dense, there's our physical form. So think about it like that too. We are a cloud of energy. And in the densest part of it, there's us, the physical part we can touch. But our cloud goes on infinitely. So I say we are infinite beings because that energy goes, and we can measure it easily. It's so simple. And what I really want to share is that when you did that tapping, you changed your physiology and you felt it, because now it feels like, oh, that's more of a shadow memory now. It's not quite as clear. And now everybody around you will change to meet your change because you're different now. So they might say, oh, you seem so much calmer. Or they might say, oh, did you do something different with your hair? Because they can't put their finger on it.
Right.
They don't
Right.
know what it is.
That's an amazing technique, and I know you have a whole basket full of them.
Yeah, I
One of the
do.
things I watched you on another interview, and you were talking about muscle testing, and we can't really show muscle testing here because many of our people are just listening on audio. But is there something equivalent of that? Because a lot of us don't know what it is that we can put into these physical bodies that is good for us, or it doesn't cause unease or dis-ease. Is there something that we can do to test?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different ways to do muscle testing, and I'll tell you about something really simple. You can put something on the counter in front of you in your kitchen, and if you're standing still with your feet hip distance apart, maybe not even, and you're going to sway forward and back. And if it's something that's for you, you'll sway forward. And if it's something that's not for you, you'll sway backward. But you always want to check. Like, show me a no. You just say it in your mind. Show me a no, you'll sway backwards.
Right.
Show me a yes, you'll sway forwards. It might switch, and then you really have to watch what you're doing. And just the question is always, is this to the highest good? Whatever you're asking, whatever you're showing yourself, whatever you want to know, is this to the highest good? Is it to the highest good for me to put this in my body? That's what prayer is before we eat. It's acknowledging that this is here. We're blessing the food, saying, let's make it work to the highest good, right? Because the highest good for me is the highest good for everybody. Everybody's at their highest good, right? So it's never taking away from anybody else. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty of good. So you're asking always, is it to the highest good? But you always want to ask for a yes and a no first, because like I said, they can switch. So really simple way to do this, and I'll describe this and I'll show it to you too, is I just rub my thumb and my finger together, just like I'm rolling something between my thumb and my index finger. And I'll ask, show me a yes. It's nice and smooth. And then I'll ask, show me a no, and it gets sticky immediately. Sticky.
Wow.
So I do this a lot because I can do this in the grocery store. Nobody knows I'm doing it. But if I'm using two hands and I've got, my thumb and my pinky in one hand and I'm trying to pull them apart with the other, that's a little bit more obvious. So this is really easy. And here's the thing, when people say, oh, that doesn't work for me. Like, sometimes your skin's really dry. Just lick your finger like you're going to turn a page in a book. And just ask, show me a yes, nice and smooth. Show me a no. Ooh, sticky. It's not as smooth. I do it when I'm working on patients here on my adjusting table. I'm asking all the time, do you want me to adjust this way, this way, this way? How is this the best? Oh, that's good. Okay, let's do that. So then I'll do that.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
asking all the time, because why would I ask your thoughts or my thoughts? Why would I ask? The thinking is what got us into this shape in the
Mess.
first place. We need to bypass thoughts because, stinking thinking is everywhere.
Yep. Yep.
We need to bypass thoughts and go directly to source energy. And when I say source, I mean the source of all that is. And you can put whatever religious connotation you want on that. I'm not going to, because that's not helpful
No,
to
no, because then
me.
you get somebody's back up over something and that's not helpful. Right.
Well,
So
many people have been beaten with religion, so we don't want to do that.
exactly,
Don't want to
exactly.
trigger anybody.
Yeah. I wanted to address a little bit because you deal with a lot of women, and we know that women are more than twice as likely as men to develop dementia. I think women hold on to a lot more fear and shame and guilt also.
I think you're exactly right. I know, men are taught, and they're just different, right? Men and women are just different. The way that we look at things, and that's perfectly normal, and it's fine. We're more alike than we are different, by the way. But you're right. We do hold on to a lot because we're absorbing it to get to the next thing a lot of the time in this day and age. Now, in your mother's case, the roles were much more defined,
Defined. Hmm.
and you had to be this way. You could be a nurse or a teacher, right? Think about it like this. And now some girls don't know what they want to do because there's so many choices. Sometimes you think, well, it might have been easier back then, but it wasn't easier in the sense that you had to absorb all the stuff that you couldn't have access to and watch somebody else do it. And I could do that better, right? So there might be anger about not being able to be out of that box.
Right. So how do we make that better? Like, would tapping help that? What other things would you
Absolutely.
suggest? Okay.
I said tapping best works really well. I can do that on an individual basis with people. There's some group things that I do. Tapping, theta healing is one of the techniques I use in groups. The best work is finding the feeling, having you think about the situation, and then me finding the feeling that's going to sort of, what am I saying? Like neutralize that pattern for you. And it might be 3 or 4 or 5 feelings that we use to neutralize those patterns. But when we're doing best, I'm having you put your eyes in a certain location, open or closed. I'm having you breathe in a certain way. I'm giving you an energetic number and having you think of a positive feeling that comes up as a result of me muscle testing you and asking your being, what is the feeling that was going to take care of this? So that's very kind of more intricate work than when I'm doing group stuff.
So people can do that with you online?
I've been doing best online since 2014,
Wow.
and I didn't learn from anybody how to do that. Source said, here, do this. And I just did it. And I
Awesome.
was like, oh, wow, I just did that. I didn't have to have them on the table, and it worked, and they feel better. And it's all, so we can do all of that online. My first international client, I'm in Iowa, by the way. My first international client was in the Seychelles, like the absolute opposite side of the world, opposite hemisphere, opposite in both ways, north, south, east, and west. She was on the other side of the earth, and it worked for her.
Perfect.
So it was like, okay, this is goer.
So we're going to get your website, how people can work with you in a minute, but I also want to ask one more thing before I let you go. You talk about healing with the blues.
Yes.
Are the blues so healing?
Well, think about this. If you're a slave working in a field and you want to make the day go by, what are you going to do? You're going to sing, right? And call and response. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Everybody else, up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. And everybody sings together. We're doing something together. We're focusing our attention on something maybe that's good that we can realize. Maybe it's out of reach. Maybe we have no hope. It's the only way we can keep ourselves moving forward. So we also have blues that's really sad. Drown in My Own Tears is very sad. And if you can't express those negative feelings, what happens? They get stuffed in second chakra and you can't move forward. And so what we're doing in blues music is we're expressing our feelings, all music does that if it's touching you in that way. We're expressing feelings and we're saying, this happened to me. I was so sad when you left. I think I'm gonna drown in my own tears. And that's because when we're expressing our feelings, we're getting them out. We're putting them out there. So as I'm singing blues, I'm releasing all that sadness. And the personal reason why I do that is because in 1994, my husband and I were awaiting the birth of our first child together. He had 2 daughters from his previous marriage, and full-term pregnancy. And at the very end, he died before he was born. So our son Eddie was stillborn, and I'm lying in the hospital bed and thinking, do I really believe everything happens to the highest good? Because this ain't good on any level. So I went down the road of what if, and why didn't I, and why is this happening, all the whys. And I went, this is leading me nowhere. What if I choose to believe that everything happens to the highest good? And it was like a door opened, and I was like, okay, show me the good. And my husband was right there, steadfast, true, loyal, loving, nurturing person right there next to me, going through the same thing. His mother and father were with us. My sister-in-law helped me deliver that baby. My friends from school came over from chiropractic college. I was in school at the time, came over and held my baby. And I really had to think hard about whether I was actually going to go and continue this healing work that I've been doing. And I thought, man, yeah, I got to. There's no choice at this point. Like, it's either that or I go into a sanitarium and deal with this in some weird way that doesn't feel right anyway. And I had a lot of faith, just a little bit of a mustard seed. They're real tiny, by the way, mustard seeds.
Yes, I know.
I had a little bit of faith, and I said, okay, I'm going to choose to believe. I choose to believe, and you do too. And there are beliefs that you are believing in that you did not choose, that were handed to you without your permission because you were a child and you had to get along. You had to go along to get along. Everybody does. There's no fault in that. See, there's no blame and shame. And people wanted us to blame and shame the people that were surrounding us. And I said, no, we're not going there. This is nobody's fault. People die. And you have to get comfortable with the fact that people die. And you know what? Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, you're not gonna, there's no other way out.
I only know like 1 or 2 people that didn't do that, but they still died and came back. So it's really not about like the beliefs that you've already had. It's about what you're choosing to believe. And so a couple months later, I said, God, just put me wherever I need to be for healing. And one of those places was the Mississippi Valley Blues Fest. I went to the 10th stage. I watched the Blind Boys of Alabama, and they put a healing on me. I just felt waves of love coming through me, and I walked out of there different than I walked in. And my husband he was at the other stage, and he saw me and he goes, are you okay? And I said, oh yeah, I'm okay. I felt how much love. So much. It's so much love. It brings me to tears when I think of it. But I'm a crier, man. I cry at parades. I cry at everything. And crying is cleansing.
Yes.
You know, I have those tears because I know how much love there is and how much we hold back from ourselves. So when I sing Healing with the Blues, so much love in my heart that I've denied. I have no other excuse. That's why I'm healing with the blues.
That's so beautiful. And what a beautiful place to end this conversation. Tanya, I am so grateful for you, for your knowledge, for your sharing, for your love. And I want people to be able to work with you. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, there's a Healing with the Blues website.
Okay.
And it says there that I'm working with women who have ever had a stillbirth, pregnancy loss, birth trauma, any kind of loss in their life, really. That's my specialty with those people. But it doesn't mean that you have to have had to go through that either. Everybody has loss, especially in the last couple of years. We've had tons of loss,
Yeah.
loss of a lifestyle,
Lots of friends.
So friends, family, loved ones, divorce, all of those things can happen. So they can go to the Healing with the Blues website. They can also follow me on Facebook. I have a group you can join where I do that live healing session. That's also called Healing with the Blues. There's also Instagram.
Yeah, I'll put all your links in the show notes so they can reach you in multiple ways and work with you virtually, which is so wonderful because not too many people want to travel to Iowa.
It's usually a commuter flight as well. So.
Yeah, no thanks.
But here's the thing, it's like, why not use this technology for something so good as healing the stuff that you've been carrying around? We call this office the baggage drop off. Just drop your bags here. We'll take care of them for you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk again.
Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you for the honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Brain Health Matters. Be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast service so that you can get all the latest episodes when they're released.
Brain Health Matters is brought to you by the Musical Brain, Book 3 in the Healthy Brain series. Enjoy the fun and easy practices in this book to improve your memory, sharpen focus, and master your mind with the healing power of music. Available on Amazon everywhere.